Hello everyone and welcome back to Easy Natural English with Liam, which means for the next 10 minutes or so you will be listening to some natural English that's just a bit easier. So today I want to talk to you about the UK education system because somebody in the comments section very kindly requested this topic and I thought it's quite an interesting topic. So I'm going to explain the types of schools we have, how long they take, and what kind of exams we have at each stage. So yeah, I think this is something that's quite different depending on each country. So yeah, today I'll try and explain the UK system. So here we go. So I'm going to talk a bit about what I did at school and how it can be different from what other people do in the UK, because there can be some differences. So I went to a normal, what most people would call public school. So really the correct word actually is state school. So it means that you don't need to pay. You know, this is free education provided by the government. You know, we pay through our taxes, and then all the children can get access to education. So it's what most people do. And yeah, that's sort of officially called a state school, but a lot of people call it a public school, which would be different from schools that you pay for, which a lot of people will refer to as a private school. But some people seem to disagree with these words, but most people would say public, you don't pay, private, you do pay. So I went to a public school, which means, yeah, I didn't pay for my education. It's like the normal thing to do in the UK. And the first school that I went to, it called itself a first school. So some people, some schools will call themselves a first school, and other teachers might call themselves, other schools might call themselves a primary school. So most people in the UK will start with a first school or a primary school. And I went to this first school until I think I was about 8 years old. And at this point, yeah, still there's no exams during first school, at least no official exams, maybe just little tests, little exams, but nothing that you have to do, from the government's instructions. It's kind of just still kind of playing at this point, learning, but kind of more relaxed kind of learning. And then I went to middle school, which is about 8 years old. And at the end of middle school, you have to do something called SATs, which is like S-A-T. In America, they have SATs as well, but I think they usually call them the SATs. I think they pronounce the letters, but yeah, in the UK, we call SATs. And in the UK, our SATs exams are when we are about 11 years old. So it's the end of middle school. At least that's what I did. End of middle school, did my SATs exams. Yeah, earlier I said there is something called primary school. So some people will do what's called primary school from 5 years old until 11 years old. So just one school. But some people, like me, we do first and then middle school. But either way, it's from 5 years old till 11 years old. Yeah, this is quite a difficult request to be asked. It's a little bit complicated. But yeah, basically at 11 years old, we do these exams which determine our level when we enter high school. So if you do a really good job in your SATs exams at 11 years old and you get a high score, then when you enter high school, you'll be put into the higher sets. And a set is like, your sort of level. So if you're a very good student, you'll be in set 1 and you'll be learning more difficult topics. If you didn't do very well, you'll be put in a lower set and the instruction from the teacher will be a bit more simple. Is this a good system? I'm not sure, but yeah, that's what exists. So then we enter high school at 12 years old. So some people will call this high school. Some people will call it secondary school. So my school was called a high school. That, it's kind of the official name. Yeah, mine was a high school. And then we go to high school or secondary school until we are 16 years old. And then this is what's quite different from a lot of other countries is at 16 years old, we can choose to stop studying. So at 16 years old, we do exams called GCSEs. And after the GCSEs, if you want to, you can just stop studying and you can go and get a job. So, of course, if you do stop studying at this point, your job options are going to be limited. You're not going to be able to get like a high level job, like some high level position, but you can go and do a job like working in a shop or working in a restaurant, some kind of service job, or perhaps some kind of manual labor job like building or something. So some people do that in the UK. Some people stop studying when they're 16. So then if you do wish to continue, so yeah, like in I think a lot of countries like America and most of the European countries, I think you have to go until you're 18. You have no choice. You have to keep going. But in the UK, yeah, you can choose. So then if you do choose, at that point, school is finished. So you can choose to go to college, which is a bit confusing because in America, they often refer to university as college. Many Americans will say, I went to college when they're talking about university. But in the UK, college is a thing that you do from 16 until 18 years old. And the other option is sixth form. And sixth form is like college, but you do it in a school. So it's usually in a high school, but it's a kind of separate part of the high school, like maybe a separate building, and it's just for the sixth form students. And they kind of follow different rules from the rest of the school. Like in my high school, the sixth formers didn't have to wear a uniform. All the people attending the school had to wear a uniform, but the sixth formers could wear their own clothes. And it's kind of, you're given a bit more responsibility. You're treated a bit differently from the high schoolers because you don't have to be there. You can leave if you want to. Yeah, if you're in school, you have to be there. You must be there. But sixth form, it's your choice. So they treat you a bit more like an adult or something, even though it's within the school. So yeah, you have the two choices, sixth form or college. And then you can choose to do A-levels, which is the same as like a high school diploma in America or like a baccalaureate in France or a lot of Europe. So the qualification you do at 18, which will allow you to go to university. So in the UK, we have A-levels, which is, I'm doing this because there are three, you have to do 3 A-levels if you want to go to university. So you can choose 3 topics, but they're usually related. So they might be like maths, chemistry, and biology, and, kind of preparing you to do some kind of science. So they have some kind of connection usually. Or you can choose a diploma, which is the same level, but it's just focusing on just one topic. And yeah, you can do this either in a college, which is a separate institution, or you can do it in a sixth form, which will be part of the school. So are you confused? I know it's a confusing system. And what I'm explaining here is just the state system, just the kind of public free education. The private schools have a totally different system. The sort of paid schools, they have like preparatory school. I think, and then before that is pre-preparatory school or something, and it's kind of a longer time. I don't know really because I didn't do that kind of schooling. It's very expensive. That's why not many people do that. Your parents have to have pretty high income to send you to one of these schools. Most people will just go to state school like me. Yeah, it's a pretty complicated system. So, yeah, I went to first school, middle school, high school. Some people will do another thing, but basically we go from 5 years old until 16 years old, and then you get to choose if you want to continue after that, which I think is the thing that's really different from some other countries. And then, yeah, from 18 years old, of course, if you want to, you enter university and do a bachelor's degree, which is like your first certificate that you get when you go to university. A lot of countries it takes 4 years, but in the UK it takes 3 years because we're very clever. That's a joke. I don't know why it's 3 years. I guess we just do it more intensely, more quickly. I'm not sure why it's only 3 years, but yeah, I went to university in the UK, so it only took me 3 years to get my bachelor's degree. Anyway, so that's a complicated story about education in the UK. I hope you could follow that. Thank you again for requesting it, whoever requested it in the comments. I'm sorry I forgot your name. But yeah, if anyone else has any topics, please just comment them below, and yeah, I'll pick up those topics. Yeah, so on the YouTube version you can comment. On the podcast version you can't comment, but come over to YouTube and comment with your topics. Anyway, thank you all for listening today. If you're on YouTube, please like, subscribe. If you're on the podcast, please review, and I'll see you all back here next time.